And welcome everyone to the Instagram Live D1Baseball weekend preview. We have got the pride of East Texas, Kendall J. Rogers, on the call. We've got the the best youth football coach in the greater Louisville area, Chris Burke, on the line. Yes, that's right. And that's undeniable. I mean, I think facts are facts.
Appreciate it.
So, gentlemen, let me give you the agenda that I want to make sure we're clear on the agenda. First discussion will be greatest SEC quarterback of all time.
Okay.
Second point, we're going to talk about Tom Brady. And then finally, we're going to talk about college baseball. So, Berkey, I'm just going to let you start us off. Do you have one data point that you'd like to make regarding who you might think is the greatest SEC quarterback of all time?
Well, this one is a little bit of a backhanded compliment to my own program, meaning the University of Tennessee. And what I'll say is, if you look at our record under Peyton's 4 years, and then look at our winning percentage since he left, I would say that he makes a pretty good case.
It's pretty loud. That's a pretty loud data point.
That's right. And really, if you go through, he left in 97. And so if you go to like the recruiting classes that piggybacked him from the momentum that he created, right? We won the national championship the next year. If you really take like those 8 years, it's like, you know what I mean? Like everything after that has been a total, let's just say, struggle, to use a euphemism. So that's it. That's all I need.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Kendall, I'd say in Johnny Football's defense, the guy did build basically $1 billion stadium. I mean, A&M's football stadium is insanity.
Hanley got them to build a $800 million stadium.
They can hold multiple weddings in that place at the same time. Like, that's all you need to know about
Johnny Football, as fun as he was to watch, and you can make a case that he was the most entertaining SEC quarterback of all time. I'm sure Archie Manning, maybe who's my man that played for Georgia way back in the day, that played for the Vikings. You know what I'm talking about, the scrambler.
Tarkington?
Fran Tarkington, Cam Newton. Like, we've had some, Tebow was obviously entertaining, but Johnny Manziel might have been the most, like, get your popcorn kind of ready player, right? Yeah.
It was like street ball.
He never won a division title, Runes. He never even won a division. So off he goes. It's really insulting to have him in the conversation.
So Peyton Manning threw for 11,000 yards in 4 years. Johnny Football threw for 8,000 yards in freaking 2 years. 2 years, 8,000 yards.
Yeah, Kevin Sumlin did that gimmick offense. We had Jamal Lewis and like Travis. We had a bunch of like real running backs.
You know what I mean? Alabama and Tuscaloosa, dude.
Didn't even win a division. Next.
That's good.
He also ran for 2,200 yards. Peyton Manning in his career ran for minus 181.
That's beautiful. That's fair. Hey, and gentlemen,
leave it to Kendall to pull up the stats. Like, are we really arguing Peyton Manning and Johnny Manziel? I mean, what are we doing? Seriously.
Yeah, Kendall's got NASA level internet in his house, and he's got the Google machine on 5 screens right now. He's
I'm over here on like a touch screen over here.
Yeah.
Pull up Johnny Football.
Kendall, actually, on your phone's so powerful, Kendall, you probably have some NASA context on your cell phone, so you're actually going right to the source.
What's its name?
Martha.
That's one of the perks of being with D1Baseball. When you're with KP, you get this like world-class technology.
Oh, interesting.
Well, no, you get the world-class technology from KP. I don't know if that's across the board, but let's go. We're doing the home field ad every week, and I'm like looking at the screen. I don't got no home field gear, but Berkey, I'm a team guy.
Okay. Slide it in there. Maybe you'll listen to this.
Arizona State shirt from home field. Come on.
I even groveled on behalf of home field, but still, maybe they lost my address. I don't know.
I'm a little disappointed we didn't have Fit on the conversation for when we get to Brady here. Would you like to just go ahead and?
No, Berkey. So I only put Brady on the agenda so Fitzy would tune in. We're not going to talk about Tom Brady. I don't want to do that.
I did see somebody, because people like to annoy me with Tom Brady stuff. Somebody did send me, one of my Tennessee chat buddies sent me a TikTok of Tom Brady's morning of whatever that he puts in his smoothie every morning.
Oh, wow.
Whatever. It's whatever. Peyton Brady. We'll have that conversation another day.
Well, no, I've heard this argument for like 3 hours in Omaha before, and I literally have gone to bed like twice listening to you guys argue about that.
That's
so great. Well, I just want to say it's good to know that Aaron Fitt is not a Patriots fan. He's a Tom Brady fan.
Ooh,
and
that's
he's not a
shots fired.
Patriots fan. He showed that this year.
Hey, I give him hell for that. Like he's out from outside of Boston. Like how do you just bail on the Patriots because
that's right? No, he's not a Patriots fan. He's a Tom Brady fan, and that's fine. I was a Peyton Manning fan. At least I admit it. I went from being a Colts fan to a Broncos fan because of Peyton. Yeah. But he tried to claim the Patriots, and then he totally dumped them this year. So just fess up, Fitzy. Fess up.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's well said. So
not listening to this. He's going to regret this.
Yeah, where there's going to be some angry face emojis on the comment section there. So, gentlemen, let's get to the college baseball. We're going to do a little weekend preview. We each picked some series. Actually, Berkey picked the 5 best series, and then Kendall and I went for scraps, but it's all good. Berkey didn't exactly share the ball on this, but it's good. That's what you're the guest, Berkey. You're allowed to do that.
Appreciate it.
So Berkey, let's start with you. Give us your first series and why you're intrigued.
Well, you kind of laid it out for me, so we'll go with what you I think want me to talk about first, which is LSU and Tennessee. And to me, I think the series is fascinating on a number of different levels. We'll just say big picture, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. LSU, give them credit. I think one of the things Paul Mainieri's team has proven through the years. I don't have the stats. Kendall might have them in front of him, but Paul Mainieri's teams don't get swept very often.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't. You know what I mean? And it did not look good. What was it? Middle of that ball game on Sunday, and it was not looking good. But they figured out a way to win on Sunday. Held serve. Tennessee, on the other hand, was a half inning away from sweeping Georgia at Georgia. And Tennessee just has a little bit of a different feel to them right now, boys. I am blown away by how many prospects Tony Vitello has on his team. Like real dudes.
Yeah.
And Max Ferguson hasn't even gotten going.
Or Pavloni, who's another prospect.
Or Pavloni, that's right. The 2 highest prospects preseason haven't even gotten going. But that one to me is really intriguing. Is Tennessee going to be in the mix there in the top 3? Again, not that this weekend will totally tell that story, but I think it's a great opportunity to hold serve against a pretty young LSU lineup and potentially go 4-2. And if you're LSU, you're sitting there going, man, if we got any chance in the West, we got to go figure out a way to steal a series on the road at some point. And it starts to get pretty noisy down in Baton Rouge, Kendall, if you start 2-4.
Yeah, that's right.
That series of Tennessee, you're looking at, hey, we've got to beat Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter to turn things around. I don't know about you. I'm not liking your chances.
No. So you got to figure out a way to win this series, right?
Well, I'll say this, guys. The key to that series for LSU, they've got to get Jaden Hill back on track. I mean, this is a guy, I think he's got 17 strikeouts in 25 innings or something. Dude,
really weird.
Weird. He's got a plus change. He's got a filthy slider. He needs to be punching more guys out.
Yep.
And I'm going to be interested to see, and I think something we could even track and circle back on. At what point does Alan Dunn start to look at his pitch usage? Because the changeup is all world, right? And the slider's real when he throws it. And so the question is he too fastball heavy? I know the fastball velo is elite, but I don't think it's hard to call anybody's fastball elite after watching what Leiter did.
Yeah.
It's like Leiter's fastball and everybody else's. But at the end of the day, he's just not getting enough swings and misses, or at least enough punch outs. So let's see what they do this week if he starts throwing more of the changeup and slider and get to maybe more of that. You could see him as a Casey Mize, a third. Because that's really what Casey Mize was. It was fastball, cutter, split. And it was all 3 of them almost equally, right? Whereas Jaden Hill right now, I think, is 2/3 fastball.
Yeah.
So maybe he's throwing too many.
Yeah, I like that. Hey, KR, I want to hijack your first series because I want you and Berkey both. I think clearly the series of the weekend is Arkansas going to Mississippi State. And I want to get both of your takes on that. So why don't you start us there, KR? When you think about the Hogs going to Starkville, what are you thinking about?
I'm thinking about Mississippi State's rotation, Arkansas's lineup. I think Arkansas's lineup, I think the numbers are very deceiving. If you look at Bob Moore, his average is 275. Trust me, he's a lot better than 275. He just had about a week and a half of some poor bats. But, I think when you look at Mississippi State's rotation with Christian McLeod, Jackson Fristo's done really well for them. I liked him a lot at Globe Life. But then you look at Will Bednar. He goes down to the box last weekend, 7 strikeouts, 5 shutout innings. Circle Will Bednar. I think he's a guy that's going to be very, very interesting to watch against that Arkansas lineup. I think Arkansas is going to play really well, but I actually do like State at home. I feel much better about its pitching staff, and it sounds like Arkansas is actually going to start Patrick Wicklander tomorrow night, which is pretty interesting.
Really? Ooh.
That's what the word on the street is.
Paulette got beat up last weekend, and Runes, I'm gonna let you hop in here. I would just say, in his to Kendall's point about the lineup, I had them Sunday against Bama, and I think Arkansas is second to last in the SEC right now in hitting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's panic on the offense because I believe in the pieces. But it's certainly not warm and fuzzy right now in the Nate Thompson hitting room. There's some dudes that are being challenged right now. I promise you that. Yeah,
because the names are more famous. Like it's big hat, no cattle right now. Yeah. It's not. That's an East Texas phrase. Kendall, did you see that? I dropped a big hat, no cattle on you. Come on.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And they gave Bob Moore the Tuesday off.
Yeah.
And it's never fun to get a Tuesday off when your team scores 16.
They're like, there goes 4 knocks.
Hey, can I just tell a story about a bad teammate moment of mine? So my second, I spent 2 years in Round Rock. My first year, I kind of got it handed to me and just tried to keep my head above water. They sent me right to AA out of the draft. My second year, I was doing great. And I was doing so well, I didn't have a day off like 5 weeks in. And finally, our manager, Jackie Moore, who's been around for 1,000 years, comes up to me and goes, Berkey, I got a call today. You have to have a day off this series. And I'm like, no, I don't have to have a day off. Like, I'm totally fine. I'm 22 years old. I'm just, no, you need a day off. So he says, if you don't pick it, I'm just going to pick it for you. So he's such a good dude. He gives me the 10 a.m. Dare day off, thinking, well, who wouldn't want the 10 a.m. game off? It's the day before, like we're busting out that after the game. Well, he thinks he's being a great manager. We get 21 hits and score 16 runs.
Oof.
And I was this guy the whole game. Like, yeah, I'm so happy for you guys. Great. Way to go. Another hit. Oh, it's cool. Yeah. Oh, this guy's coming in. He's on 87. Yeah, it's awesome. So anyway, good. I know Bob Moore's ability to be a good teammate was probably tested on Tuesday when the Hogs scored 16 without him in the lineup.
That's awesome.
Easy.
That may change my feeling on this series if Bob Moore was benched on Tuesday. Ooh.
He played Wednesday. Went 1 for 6.
Ooh. He's a little bit of an overswinger at times, Berkey. Like he's got the Madrigal, Pedroia. That's one thing he does have in common with those two dudes is if there's a white object coming at him, he's
swinging.
Likely to offer at it.
I will say this. What I love about Arkansas is their defense.
They really defend.
Really play. And Jalen Battles is like really smooth and checks a lot of boxes as a prospect.
Yeah, he sure does. Quarterback, man. Hey, so Rune, if Bob Moore has a bad weekend, he's hitting like 250, do we go back to calling him Robert?
Well, that's a great point. Yeah, that's like our version of benching him on a Tuesday. I like it, Kendall. Yeah. If he doesn't give us, I'm going to set the over-under at 2.5. If we don't get at least 3 knocks out of Bob Moore this weekend, yeah, he'll be Robert until further notice.
That's fair.
I like it. Hey, Berkey. Yeah. Berkey, 2 things. Why did they call it Dare Day? I've not heard that term before. And did you ever play in the Dude in Stark Vegas? I'm sure you did, but I'm curious.
Yeah, Dare Day was like just say no to dope. Like it's like the Dare Day. Like we're bringing kids out and we're giving them a don't do drugs message. So it's like
I see. Gotcha.
Dare Day. That's what it used to be called. I don't know if it is.
Gotcha.
Anymore.
Yeah, that's why it was in the morning. Got it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there's like 1,000 screaming kids. 5,000
nice.
maybe.
Yes.
It was
Stark Vegas.
It was the bouncy turf Wichita infield. I mean, it's just like you woke up with 2 hits. Like how could you like,
that's right.
But anyway,
like 1 or 2 times yeah. Did you ever play in Stark Vegas?
Yes, my sophomore year.
What was that? What was it like? Was it a good atmosphere?
It was my favorite road trip that I took in my career. We didn't go to LSU. Somehow we missed them in my 3 years being on the road, but it was fantastic. They destroyed our bullpen catcher for 3 days and then fed him after the game was over.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the old dude.
That'll be that atmosphere this weekend will be tremendous. Hey, I'm going to go fast, and then I'm going to come back to you, KR. I'm going to go Florida at South Carolina. I'm not really focused on Florida here. I'm focused on South Carolina, where I believe they are a regional team, but that sweep at Texas that they suffered, that's a bad resume point for them. And now, if they start racking up these series losses, this could get really hairy really quickly. And I don't know if I like their chances against the Gators, as right-handed as they are. And, this is South Carolina. They're going to have a lot of chances to rack up good wins, but you can't just keep punting those chances either.
No.
And so, again, that sweep at Texas, I think, is going to haunt them, especially if they want to be considered for a host down the road. I mean, right now they got to just have a resume. Hey, and here's the other thing: the wins against Clemson right now, not super impactful. I mean, Clemson's the only team in the ACC that hasn't been ranked. So, yeah, that series is going to be South Carolina. They definitely can't get swept, but they need a big series win at some point.
No doubt.
KR, what are you going with next?
I'm going to go with a series I wrote about today, Southern Miss and La Tech. It's kind of interesting looking at this series. La Tech is in our top 25. I don't think any of us thought they'd be in our top 25 at this point. But Lane Burrs has done a really nice job. And I think when you look at Southern Miss, Scott Berry's done a really nice job. And what's really interesting about Southern Miss is, coming into the season, we thought that USM would kind of be one of those teams like they typically are, right? Offensive heavy, just enough pitching, not enough pitching to win a regional. Well, I mean, right now they're like the total opposite. I mean, they're hitting 208. Some of the better hitters are really struggling. Gabe Montenegro, who's had a wonderful career there, is hitting like 230 right now. He's like a career 360 hitter. So they're hitting 208 as a team, but yet they're still winning a lot of games because when you look at Hunter Stanley, Walker Powell, Ryan Auk in the back end of the bullpen, they're getting outstanding pitching. I think they're 16th in the country in staff ERA. So Southern Miss has done a really nice job on the mound, and that's even with Gabe Shepard out with an injury right now. He's trying to come back, but it's been a slow process for him. So I'm really intrigued by this series. We've talked coming into the season about the American Conference USA, the Sun Belt. We thought the American would be the best kind of high major league or high mid-major league. Right now, it looks like Conference USA when you look at USM, La Tech, Old Dominion, Charlotte's a lot better, FAU. So this is a really interesting series, and it's a 4-gamer.
Yeah, Conference USA is what we would call lurking for bids right now. And by the way, Kendall, Gabe Montenegro is from forever to be known as the Count of Montenegro. Like we need that he is never to be called Gabe again. So let's put that in play. I love that series.
To still having nightmares about that guy from the Baton Rouge Regional a couple of years ago.
He can hit. Berkey, what are you going with for number 2?
Man, I'm going one close to the crib here. The Cards and the Irish.
Yes.
I'm going close to Rune's heart, close to my house. It's actually in Notre Dame this weekend, I believe, right? In South Bend. Runes?
I think it's their second home series. Yeah, I'll confirm, yes.
But let me just throw a name out there. Nico Cavadas. We got 9 big ones in 13 games, boys.
Yeah, that's getting it done.
I'm going to let Runes do the math on that, but I think it projects to be pretty good at the end of the year.
It's good math.
If he can keep that pace. So, I didn't realize how accomplished Cavadas was as a hitter coming into this year. I think he led the Cape in homers 2 summers ago. And so this is a real dude. And playing like it in the middle of the order. I think the question with Notre Dame is, and they've pitched plenty well. I don't know that they've seen an offense like Louisville, right? So,
yes.
And as you were saying, Runes, they've had some arm injuries. So are they going to be able to hold off the offense? And oh, by the way, don't know if you noticed, but Vanellis, it was 4 for 4 or 5 for. I think it was 4 for 4 with 5 ribbies the other night. So, and they got Ben Metzinger back. Louisville did. So it's a Louisville offense that's pretty scary right now, incredibly deep, plenty of juice. So a great test. Is Notre Dame legit, or is Louisville going to run away with this thing again?
Yep. Berkey, I'll give you this on Notre Dame. I had him on Sunday. Link Jarrett, if you've not had a conversation with him yet, you're going to love the way he thinks about the game. And Notre Dame has really bought into him. So it's, like sometimes when you say a team is really well coached, I think that what you're really saying is, hey, that team is really bought into their coach.
Yeah.
Because all these guys are good coaches, but sometimes you're fighting with your team. And this team is really bought in. That they're playing with a very high baseball IQ. And but I think to your point, I think they're seriously outgunned this weekend. Louisville is playing well. Cavadas, I put a Greg Luzinski comp on him this week. He's kind of like a stiff, thick guy. But I'll tell you, he went from third base to first base. He's turned into a really good first baseman. Notre Dame's fielding 994 right now, which is not sustainable, but still, that's incredible. Wow. But here's the thing. I'll leave you with this on Cavadas, Berkey, and then KR, I'll take your next series. So in the Duke series, Cavadas hits a big home run on slider in on him, right? Pulls it. And the stadium can't hold him. It's not a big park, and it can't hold him. And so second game, they try to go change up, and they hang it a little bit. Leaves to left, and like really leaves to left. So, we've got home runs going different directions. So to me, it's like, okay, you better be thinking about throwing him a fastball. But, this kid's bright, and he's well coached, and it's like you start thinking fastball and predictable counts, and that could get ugly too. So he's a real, like, you got to really execute pitches to get him out, and that's hard to do over and over again.
Well, let's see what he's got against Michael Kirian tomorrow night.
That's going to be a tough look.
Yeah.
Yep. KR, what do you got for us next?
Alabama Ole Miss is going to be really interesting to me. Aaron Fitt will be there tomorrow for that doubleheader. I think we're going to find out a lot about Alabama. They played really well in the opening game against Arkansas last week, certainly winning 16-1, knocking Peyton Pallett out after one inning. And I thought they actually battled Arkansas pretty hard throughout the whole series. Like, Arkansas really had to claw their way to that series win. So I think as they go home now, this is a series I think Alabama needs to win. I just think, after that kind of weekend at Arkansas, you want to come back this weekend and prove, like, hey, us hanging with those guys in Fayetteville, even without Prelip, is not a fluke. And unfortunately for Bama, when I look at this series overall, I feel a lot better about Ole Miss's rotation than I do Arkansas. So I actually think Ole Miss is a little bit of a bad matchup for them because Gunnar Hoagland's been awesome every week. He had, 13 or 14 Ks last week. Doug Nikhazy's numbers are deceptive. He had that one bad outing at Globe Life, but otherwise he's been pretty solid. You would expect him to be good. And then, of course, Jared Diamond can be kind of in and out a little bit, but again, electric stuff. And so I think Ole Miss wins this series, but this is one that I think Alabama has circled because I think they want to prove that last weekend hanging with Arkansas was not just an aberration.
Yeah. Berkey, what are you thinking in that series?
Well, I have similar thoughts to KR in that it does feel like, I think a lot of these teams that are hoping to be contenders that drop their opening series, week 2 is big regardless of who's on the schedule, right? But it does feel like Bama – it feels like Bama has legitimately made a jump.
Yeah.
And if they had Connor Prelip, I would really like their chances to be in the mix, in the regional mix for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they're out of it right now, but this one feels like you can't keep losing ground in the West because at some point, Brad Bohannon said something to us when we were preparing for that game. Those guys that went to Arkansas last weekend that are first or second year players, all they knew was 30-4. They were 30-4 on campus. Now you can say that played in the SEC or whatever, but like, dude, you win 30 out of 34 games, you think you're pretty good. And then they helped Arkansas win 16-1 against the number 1 team in the country. And so they got beat the next 2 days, but I do think there's a high belief factor, and they made it tough on Jackson Wiggins in the 9th in that game. But Ole Miss to me, if you made me pick somebody today that's the most likely offense in that West, like the offense that I fear the most, it's probably Ole Miss's. So Alabama's going to have their hands full pitching wise. Help me on the pronunciation. Is Shanta the second baseman, Ole Miss. Shanta
Shanti. Oh my gosh. Chattanay.
Chattanay. Is
Team
he back?
Chat.
Is he back yet?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Which makes them even deeper, right?
Yeah, and that's huge. He's their guy. Like, he's their juice. No question. No, interesting. Hey, gentlemen, I'm going to go to the Big Ten, and this is like one of those interesting pod series that they're having. So Iowa is playing in a pod with Ohio State and Maryland. And this is interesting to me because I think Iowa, Ohio State, and Maryland all have regional talent, but Indiana and Michigan are starting to leave the rest of the league. And, I know Nebraska's hanging around, Northwestern is too, but, I think Michigan and Indiana are really good too. So if you're not careful, they will leave the pack. And so it's going to be interesting. They're going to play the 4 games. I hope I have that right, but I like all 3 teams, but none of them are off to an awesome start, and they're only playing conference games. So I think in the Big Ten, the only resume you have is where you finish in that league. So you start getting in 4th place, and you're not feeling very comfortable. So I think the Big Ten is interesting. It's it's a unique situation, but there is talent in that league. So I'm gonna be peeking at that one for sure. KR, you go next. What do you got for us?
I'm going to look at Oregon against Arizona this weekend. That's a really interesting series. I think one of those teams that, obviously things kind of fell apart in the series finale against UCLA. But I think we all saw at Frisco several weeks ago that this Arizona has the ability to be a really good team. And so I think as you look at U of A returning back to their home field, you've got Oregon on the road. I think Oregon is to the point now where I'm all in. I think after the UCSB series, it was kind of like, and even Mark Wazikowski, their head coach, even was like, hey, we don't need to be ranked yet. We still have a lot more to prove. But now they've won the Oregon State, which they hadn't done since 2016. They won the Arizona State series, which I think we expected them to do that at home. So now they're actually putting together consistency. Very interesting to see Arizona going back home against Oregon State, playing pretty well right now. And Colin Kafka has been terrific for the Ducks on the mound. So Colin Kafka against that Arizona offense is a really intriguing match for me as well.
Oregon's interesting because they've played unreal defense. I think over 990, but they're going from turf to a parking lot now. Playing infield defense at Arizona is not.
Yeah.
It's not awesome. Like you know what I'm saying, Berkey. Like when we were at ASU, we watch it all the time in BP, where the visiting third baseman would drop step, and then next thing you know, he's saying 2-2-2, right? Because the ball is way over his head, and so it's
Can I get a scouting report on Can I get a scouting report on Kenyon Yovan?
I can give you one. You want me to do it, KR?
Lots of bomb.
So Kenyon Yovan he's built like the kid that is a 13-year-old and 12-year-old Little League Berkey, who's just bigger and stronger and more confident than everybody else. Remember, Berkey, this kid was an All-American pitcher his first 2 years at Oregon.
That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, and then got hurt. And then last year, if you look at his 2020 stats as a hitter, he was going to challenge Torkelson for Pac-12 Player of the Year. Like, the numbers were bonkers. And so to me, when I think about Yovan, he's just this kid that he's wired to win. He's wired to succeed. He's strong. He's instinctive. And what he was doing as a pitcher just translated perfectly to a position player. And the thing is, Berkey, like he runs good at bats, and he's strong enough to leave at all parts of the ballpark. And so there's a lot to like.
1,500.
Yeah, it's a good OPS.
He's got 6 and 16 in 40 at bats.
Yep. He's a really strong kid who swings at the strikes and takes the balls. And that's a good.
He can hit some things.
That's impressive.
He good. So I like that one. Gentlemen, let me give you one. And I'm going to come right back to you, Berkey. I'm going to go, how about Miami at Virginia? And
Runes knows where I stand on this one.
Yeah, this is, it's getting tense. We're starting, the good news in the ACC is that you've got 8 weekends left. The bad news is they start tomorrow. Yeah. So gentlemen, start your engines. And, for Virginia, they're really in a bad place right now. For Miami, it's just kind of like, who are we? Are we the team that beat Florida? Are we the team that, so here's the thing about Miami, and then I'll stop. There's clearly talent on this team, but what Florida State did to them in Miami, that series was at Coral Gables, is spooky. It's just, they ran them off the field 3 times. So I'm going to be peeking at that one because it is really go time for both teams.
Speaking of go time, how about the Malvern Prep grad Chris Newell hitting well into the 100s now?
By the way,
auction that.
By the way, Berkey, Chris Newell, who's an incredible kid and an incredible talent. We went to the same high school. We played in the same Little League. I played Little League baseball with his uncle and his dad. So Chris's struggles really, I'm pulling for that kid hard. He's a great kid. Oh, and, it's just, hey, Chris is struggling, but there's a lot of kids. I see this, Berkey, not to go on a tangent, but I see a lot of kids in college baseball this year who are really talented, who are going to get to play baseball for a long time. And this year is going to be a data point for them that, like, okay, I got to figure out how to get through slumps because I've never been in something like this before. And you would know, Berkey, but to me, that's the differentiator in pro ball. Can you get out of slumps?
No doubt about that. And this year, obviously unique in a million ways. And we're all tired of hearing about that, but it's just true. I think the build up for the prospects is even take a guy like Alex Pinellas, right? He really didn't even play last year.
Another great example. Yep.
So the build up for this year for some of these kids is more than even the normal build up, right? And so we're seeing that play itself out, but we're also seeing some stars play like stars. I mean, I think Sal Frelick, has been a star from the jump. It's somebody in the ACC that we expected to play at a really high level, and that leads us to Florida State, which is another ACC series that I'm watching. And no disrespect to Wake Forest, but
quality segue, by the way, Berkey. Look at you.
I'm no offense to Wake Forest, but I'm interested in the Wake Forest Florida State series because of Florida State, because of what you mentioned, what they did. Forgive me who they played 2 weekends ago, but they got it rolling 2 weekends ago.
Virginia Tech.
That sounds right. Then they hammered Florida
series, and then went on the road and beat Virginia Tech.
Okay, and then they hammered Florida, and then they demolished Miami.
Mm-hmm.
I think Runes liked it, and I'm going to say it again for our followers and see what KR thinks. Tyler Martin is to college baseball what Buddy Boeheim is to college basketball.
Yes.
Which is, you could easily think it was a daddy goggles kid on the team, and then you go, oh my gosh, this is a straight baller.
Baller.
Buddy Boeheim lit it up last weekend, and Tyler Martin, boys, has a 553 OBP.
He really can hit. He can really hit, and he plays with a, to use your term, Kendall, bar fight meter, 80 bar fight meter edge. Like he's not looking to make friends. It's awesome.
If you knew Meat, that wouldn't surprise you.
Yeah, he's got Meat's edge. Like he's looking at you sideways, and he doesn't care if you're offended by that. It's really awesome. Yes, that's a good one.
And so Robbie Barton and Matthew Nelson are raking too, right?
Raking.
And it looks like the arms are coming. So here's my question: at 11-6, 7-5 in the ACC, like, is this a Florida State team that just got hot, or are they now hitting their peak and they're going to really challenge Louisville as one of the elite teams? So they definitely this would be a situation where you could see a team maybe relax or take the foot off the gas because they have had such a big couple weeks. So does Florida State, do they have staying power at the clip that they've been performing at? That's really what I'm excited to watch this weekend with them.
What do you think, Kendall? How would you answer that?
I mean, Florida State having staying power. I mean, it's hard not to think they don't. I mean, they played well the last 3 weeks, and we all know Parker Messick and those guys. Like they're going to be able to pitch. So yeah, I think they have staying power. I think Louisville's going to win that league, though.
Yeah, me too.
And Carson Montgomery the other night.
Ridiculous, Berkey.
Right now he's got 13 innings, 24 punch outs, a few too many walks, but like that kid could be special.
Yeah, no Berkey. So 8 of the first 9 outs were punch outs. They were all on this slider. It was Kumar Jr. slider. It was hitters know it's coming, can't get on it. It was vicious. And it's kind of one of those pitches where it's got slider velocity. It's 83, 84, but it's got like real curveball depth like Kumar's. Yeah. So I guess I'm calling it a slider, but you're right. The only thing that I'll say this and we'll keep going. the thing I'm struggling with Florida State, Berkey, is their first three hitters: Tyler Martin, Matt Nelson, Robbie Rakes, Robbie Martin. Give me those guys all day long. The next three hitters, there are two pitchers in the next. Yeah, I'm just not fully sunk into that yet. And then they've got some just defense only guys at the bottom of the order. So I don't know.
Well, it's a little bit of a page out of Sully's book, right? You got Jordan Butler and Kirby McMullen on the corner for Sully, and these Florida guys. You guys know Florida travel baseball. Like all those guys are two-way players.
Yeah, that's
you know
true.
What I mean? They're just baseball players, and sometimes you're not even sure which one they're going to end up specializing in. And so maybe Meat's taking a chance, and maybe these kids are really hitters.
Yeah, well, it's working. So, KR, you go next. What do you got for us?
I'm really intrigued to see what happens with Oklahoma and Texas. Oklahoma was one of those teams here a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I mean, honestly, I was kind of like, boy, I'm kind of feeling like throwing the towel in on these guys. Like Wyatt Olds was terrible when I saw him. He had struggled the next weekend. They weren't getting consistent production up and down the lineup. The pitching staff was an absolute mess. Kind of shocking when you could Johnson. But, as of late, Braden Carmichael, the game that you covered at Arkansas, he's now in the rotation. He dealt at Arkansas.
As he should be.
And, and Olds last weekend had 10 strikeouts against U of H and pitched really well. So suddenly things are kind of coming into place for OU. The lineup's getting on track. Tyler Harmon's hitting 467. So the Oklahoma team that you and myself thought they would have coming into the season, while we kind of pitched them as a potential top 25 team, they're kind of morphing into that team now. And I actually think it's one of those situations to where they're actually getting a rivalry series at exactly the right time. We're going to play better. Now, let's go play a series that we know we're going to be amped up about. I think they're getting Texas. I'm not going to say they're going to win it, but I think it's a really good series.
I'll give you guys this data point. I had the OU at Arkansas game a week ago, midweek game, and Carmichael's just a little gutsy lefty that just shoved it on Arkansas. But in the ninth inning, the top of the ninth, Jackson Wiggins comes in, and that was my first live look at him. And I know you saw him, Berkey, and it's like I wrote this in my report this week. Like when Jackson Wiggins is throwing, you feel like you're at a carnival. Like it's not human beings don't do that. He's not built like a normal human. He's playing catch at 96. He's got feel for a changeup. It's almost comical. So he does the top of the ninth. And then Jason Ruffcorn comes into the bottom of the ninth and shows him up. I mean, Jason Ruffcorn is throwing 99, 98, just eight swing and miss on fastball. So I think you're right, Kendall. That's OU. If you're Texas, it's a little bit of bad luck because you're facing an OU team that really struggled that now is getting right. So very interesting.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Hey boys, let me do this. I'm gonna throw some off the radar series at us, lightning round, and then I want to get one more from each of you guys because I think you guys each have one more for me. So okay, Hawaii is 11-3. They're going to UCI, who's 4-0 in the Big West. Right now, the Big West is smelling like a one-bid league. So okay, let's see. Hawaii's got a really old team. They got a nice team. I'm really curious there. How about this, gentlemen? Wright State is 12-0 in the Horizon. They've not lost a conference game yet. So they're going to Youngstown State, fighting Penguins. Let's see what that looks like there. Little Rock is off to a 3-0 start in the Sun Belt. They're going to go play 18-1 Southern Illinois. How about that? 18-1. By the way, quick trivia question. Can you guys give me the mascot for Southern Illinois, and what is it?
Salukis. It's a dog.
It's impressive. It's a dog. Really? Like a husky?
It looks almost like a greyhound looking thing.
Did you know that, Berkey? Were you going to get that?
I knew it was Salukis, but I would have had no clue that it was a dog.
I might have said it's a flower. I didn't really know either that it was a dog.
It almost looks like a greyhound Irish setter.
Is Southern Illinois the place that's got my St. X Tiger playing shortstop?
It's a good question. Lance Rhodes went from Mizzou, and he's the head coach, and he brought Coach Jameson over as his pitching coach.
You know who I'm talking about, the shortstop that's the prospect. I'm going to find him out.
St. X Tigers, let's go.
Kendall, you're supposed to be on this.
Hey, while you're looking that up, Berkey, let me give you guys two more. How about North Dakota State? Go Bison. They're 14-4, and they're playing at Oral Roberts, who won a series at LSU. So, hey, and Berkey, I know you really dove into my Summit League preview in the preseason.
Yeah.
And so I'll be honest, I didn't call NDSU. I like their club, but I really like the Omaha Mavericks the best. But anyway, we're looking at that. And my last one, gentlemen, the UTRGV Vaqueros are going to DBU. And I think that's an interesting one because it's really important for DBU. And I think UTRGV is good. I mean, I think those guys are doing a nice job down there, and that's a good team. So there you have it. Berkey, give me one more series that you're excited about this weekend.
Okay, so let's go out west. Okay, and this is, I'm going to tee this up for you because I need to hear what your thoughts are. Okay, because this is your sweet spot, and I certainly love to hear Kendall on this.
West Coast, Best Coast.
It looks like Florida's maybe turned a corner and is going to start playing like the team. Trey Sweeney, where's Trey Sweeney go?
That's your guy?
Look that up, Bruins, really quick. I'm gonna go back to this UCLA deal. Do we feel like UCLA's like, obviously they've underachieved from a record standpoint because everybody had, it was like Florida UCLA. Everybody had Florida UCLA, right? And then we lose 2 out of UCLA, lose 2 out of 3 San Francisco. You know, it was pretty shaky against Irvine, right? What do we feel? You know, they lost 2 out of 3 to Cal Poly. I mean, where are we at with UCLA? Just big picture. Do you think you had them overrated? Do you think they're underachieving? Where are you at with them?
I got an opinion, but Kendall, you go first.
I think UCLA is going to be fine. I mean, I think when you look at the Bruins early on, I mean, you got to remember they didn't have Zach Petway at full strength for the first 3 weeks. So you don't have your Friday. Yeah. The first 3 weeks, basically. I think he might have thrown like 2 or 3 innings the third week. But, you know, now Petway's healthy. Nick Nastrini, Jesse Bergen. I mean, they've got the best rotation on the West Coast. So I think UCLA is going to be fine. I mean, obviously they're not playing great, but the fact they took 2 out of 3 from Arizona, and not only took 2 out of 3 Berkey, but actually, you know, whipped up on Arizona's series finale, that showed me a little bit about those guys. Because Runes will tell you, like, I was pretty skeptical about UCLA going into the weekend. So the fact they dominated that last game kind of renewed my hope in those guys a little bit.
Yeah, okay. I'll tell you, Berkey, to piggyback on Kendall's point, the Petway loss is a real thing because, you know, Dan McDonnell always used that term bell cow, like, who's your dude on Friday nights? That's Zach Petway. And, you know, getting him back, and, you know, JT Schwartz has been really their second best offensive player statistically, and he missed a bunch of time early. So getting him back. And the final thing I'd say about UCLA is Arizona, they played good, and UCLA took those punches and still won the series. Like, that's a real series win for me, and that was impressive. I am concerned about UCLA's bullpen, though. I thought it was going to be the best in the country, and those guys have just wobbled. So, but you know, again, this probably helps UCLA to kind of lie in the weeds a little bit and be better at the end of the year. But
which I think the same about Florida, by the way. I think the exact same thing about Florida. I think Florida's glad to have the Bulls out.
Good comp, really good comp.
That is a good comp.
I think they're feeling the same way. And what do we think? We think Jason Gill going to get the Trojans back to being legit in the pack? Are the Trojans headed back north?
I would buy the stock, Berkey, but not this year.
I like Jason Gill.
Yeah. He's good. You know, he's got Fullerton ties. He's going to instill a toughness. I think Gilly is a great hire for them, but I think this year's too early. I still see them as a 6th place and below. Now Kendall pointed this out on the podcast this week. Their sweep at Washington, that's a big deal, really big deal. But I don't have great certainty there.
Okay.
KR, you got one more series for us?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Coastal and Louisiana. You know, neither of those teams have played a conference series. Everybody else has. And with Texas State struggling, you know, out of the gate this year, obviously you can't go with those guys to win that league right now. They struggled last weekend against Little Rock. So I think Coastal and Louisiana for me are probably the 2 favorites. And I think when you look at Louisiana and it's pitching with Hayden Dirk and company, I'm just very interested to see how they match up with Coastal's lineup with Eric Brown and guys like that. So that's a really intriguing series to me down in Lafayette.
Burt Granger got your answer there. Trey Sweeney, Eastern Illinois. Hey, who did they? Eastern Illinois has a big upset. Kansas State, right? Series went over Kansas State this year.
Manhattan. By the way,
Trey Sweeney is one of those prospects, Runes, that if you just saw Trey Sweeney in high school, you'd be like, No, like Eastern Illinois, no disrespect to Eastern Illinois. Eastern Illinois got themselves a good one. Like,
Yeah, I love
left-handed
it.
hitting, long, lean, athletic. Me and my dad watched him play a couple times. Like, we missed something on this kid. Like, this kid feels like a no-brainer.
6'4", yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and I'm super proud of him just being an alum. But surprising to me that all the bigger schools in this area missed him.
So, Berkey, that you did an awesome job on this podcast. I thought, or this IG live, your data point on Peyton Manning, I thought was spot on.
Thank you.
So while we're talking St. X Tigers, Justin Thomas, big win at the Players, I believe.
Yes.
So the question is, obviously, you're coming off a big loss in the St. X Trinity Ryder Cup golf match. So can JT help you, like, kind of mental game? You and your brother Paul, can you get any insight from JT on helping you guys when you get that rematch?
Well, we could definitely use the help. It was a devastating loss.
It was.
But here's one thing you learn. I try to tell the Cowboys. I try to tell the Centurions, Maroons when I coach them up.
Yeah.
Sometimes the other guy wins.
Yes, that's right. It's a fair point.
We got to put our stock in how did we prepare and did we control the controllables? And we can't always measure ourselves in the scoreboard rooms, okay?
Yeah,
It can't always be about the scoreboard. So I felt like we were ready for that event. I felt like we grinded it out, and the other dudes just made more birdies. So that's what I'm going with. How's my post-game presser sounding?
Yeah, that sounds great. It also feels like your dad, Big Al Burke, is going to pull you aside and say, everything you said is incorrect, and if we don't win that series next year, then
we rode together, and he made us get an Uber home. So
that's great. Hey, Berkey, before we shut it down, do you have anything on the docket this weekend? Any games?
I have no games this weekend, so we'll be watching the Vipers play in E-Town.
Go Vipes!
I got 4 next weekend, or next week. I've got Texas A&M on Tuesday.
Woo!
Then I have Kentucky, Mississippi State Thursday, Friday. And then I have Louisville, Wake Forest next Sunday. So I got a big week next week.
Oh, I love it. KR, are you? Look at Angela Rogers in the house with the emoji game. KR, are you any live contest this weekend, or are you doing the multi-screen compete?
Well, first of all, in honor of Berkey, the next time we're together, I'm going to use her Instagram to do this, like Berkey's using his wife. So
I like that.
I'm going to actually see Georgia and A&M on Sunday. I want to get a good look at Jonathan Cannon for the Bulldogs. We talked about all these series. I mean, that's a big swing series for one of these teams. Georgia and A&M, I kind of feel like both teams are a little bit average to above average, and both those teams need a series win this weekend. So I'll see them on Sunday, and then next weekend I'll see LSU and Vanderbilt again. I think that's going to end up being a huge series for LSU because I have a sneaking suspicion Tennessee might win that series this weekend. That could be a big weekend for Paul Maneri and company.
No off weekends in the SEC. It's the best regular season we have in college baseball. No buys, 10 straight weeks.
It's interesting. Real quick, I was
buckle up.
Actually, the first year that Missouri and A&M were in the SEC, and I saw Tim Jamison in the airport, and I walk over to him because I've known Tim forever, and like he just looked worn out. Like it looked like he had been like in a 9-round boxing match. And I was like, hey, man, I was like, you okay? Like, you feeling all right? And he goes, man, I tell you what, he goes, it's being this league. He's like, the Big 12, like, you would have an off weekend here and there, but, like, he's like, man, you can't come up for air in this league. Like, it's like every single week is war. And that's just what differentiates the SEC from some of these other leads.
Berkey, as you always say, hard game.
It's a hard game, but I will say what's fascinating about the SEC, let me turn this light back on. What's fascinating about the SEC is, and we've seen this proven over and over again, Corbin's first championship, he finished 6th in the league.
Yeah.
You just have to get to a regional.
Survive it.
If you're good enough to get to a regional, you can win the whole thing.
That's it.
Yeah,
no doubt.
That's football. You got to win your division and then win the SEC championship. Basketball, obviously, people have a puncher's chance, but in baseball, if you can just get to the tournament, you're good enough to win the whole thing, and that's what these guys have to keep telling themselves every week.
That's it.
All right, I got to put my daughter to bed. Peace.
Go ahead. I think it was like a decade ago that Arkansas won the league, projected to finish 9th. Oh,
that's it.
Berkey's gone.
He was not kidding. We're going to get cut off in a second. KR, well done, my man. Love the hat. Go Snow Leopards.
Yeah. Talk to you later, bud.
All right. See you, man. See you, everybody.